lady in the back, your hand's up. You were first, and then you after. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just up the back.
Hello, Jed. What advice would you give to somebody who's got an idea for a series? Should they go to a drama production company? Should they pitch cold to a drama commissioner? What would you say?
Well, I think that most of the development work, it's fair to say, is done by independent production companies, and they're the ones who are probably most eagerly looking for new content and to develop opportunities for them to get commissions. So I think in that respect, it's probably easier to get access. I think commissioners at broadcasters are much harder to access. So just for that reason, I would say indies.
Thank you.
Are you interested in working in with new talent, as in creative talent, or do you only do ideas that you originate yourself?
I am. I mean, I've got a production company within Hat Trick Productions where I am working with other writers, and we do have a number of projects. So that's great. In terms of my own career, just creating my own series and being the sole writer and showrunner is still something that I'm very ambitious about. So I definitely want to continue that as well.
Okay, so doing both.
Yeah.
Lady there. Yeah.
Hi, Jed and Vicky. Congratulations on a fantastic show. Jed, I just wondered, as a writer, how far ahead do you write to the filming?
Well, we shoot in two blocks of 3 episodes. And it's very important for the production that they have the first 3 episodes in pretty good shape when we start pre-production, so that people know where we're going to be shooting and we can do a schedule and we can find the right locations and all of those things. And then the idea is to have the next 3 episodes ready for when we start on the next block. So it's as simple as that, really. It's purely about serving the production. One of the things that is very frustrating and very costly, and ultimately I think diminishes the quality of the work, is like the delivery of scripts. And as the showrunner, I'm responsible for that. So it would be crazy on my own show to be late with the scripts.
Vicky, do you have any advice for aspiring actors?
Well, I always say just, short films, as much as they're probably not seen by that many people, they're seen by the industry.
Right.
And I just think, you're sort of working with lots of upcoming directors and writers and, people that are willing to give other people a chance. I find it very frustrating in the industry a little bit at the minute where it's a bit samey. And I know from Jed, say like some of the cast on the last series, people I'd not really heard of or seen in other things, and they were incredible. And it's great that we have a mixture of, Hollywood to great, old school actors, and then a brand new. It's so refreshing. And I just think it's so hard now. I find it very difficult to give advice unless you've got a bag load of money. It can be tough. You can't afford to go to certain drama schools. What do you do? Because I didn't. So there's an awful amount of luck involved. So yeah, I do think there's got to be some massive changes at the minute. I know it's something that's spoke about quite a lot, but yeah, I'm totally backing that there needs to be a big change and that there's got to be...
fresh faces can come through.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's so many lost talent. There's so many people that are sat there not getting the jobs, and then the same old people get the same old part, and you go, well, we've seen you do that.
Yeah.
So
again.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to develop new talent, Jed?
I think it's really important.
On-screen talent as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Every now and then on the show we have someone who's done very little TV, and that's always great. And usually they're incredibly enthusiastic, and as well as wanting to do well, they're wanting to learn as much as possible. So that's always it's always great to see that happen. But I just echo what Vicky said about the making the industry more open. The fact is that it's we we should be concerned about social mobility, and
100%.
you might argue that actually it's more important in other industries than media, but it's still representative of something which is a problem all through society.
And as with anything, when you see it's possible for someone else, and that's when you believe it's possible for you. So.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons where you could argue that access to media careers is important, that it creates role models, which then makes people think, well, if that person can be on TV, then I could be a judge, or I could be a surgeon, or whatever. And then I think that's really important.
Speaking of new talent, would you ever put yourself in any of your pieces?
Oh, God.
I do try it every year, like just
Woody
be in the
Allen
bar, just be sat at the back. Could do it.
A walk-on extra.
Yeah.
Lady there?
In whereabouts in the UK in your heads is Line of Duty set, or does it not really matter to you?
Isn't it just outside Birmingham, isn't it?
Yeah, it's East Midlands.
Yeah, well, we shot the first series in Birmingham, and actually the first series was set in Birmingham, but then the BBC legal advice was that we couldn't be that specific in case the West Midlands police decided that it was all about them, and there might be real life cases. And it wasn't. It was meant to represent the fact that this thing goes on in any police force. So we've kind of created the idea of a city somewhere in the Midlands, that it might be Birmingham, but it might be somewhere else. And so we shoot in Belfast, and it's very different from all of those cities anyway. So we now just got an anonymous city that somehow is located in the Midlands, but you've never heard of it.
We all want to go there. Last question, lady there.
Well, I'm a huge fan of the show, and so I'm asking the question from that perspective. I love all the twists and turns. They're so compelling. But I think what gives me the extra passion for the show is the depth that comes to it from the echoing of the faint echo of U-Tree in episode 1 and the gender complexities in series 3. How deliberately is that in the show? How do you source it? How do you research it? And do you deliberately think about it like that?
Oh yeah, it's deliberate. Yeah, it's well, I think that police corruption is something that goes on in the real world. So because there are real life correlates for what we do, it's important, I think, at times to touch on those so that people don't think that we're inventing the idea of police corruption. And so when we did the whole thing with Savile, which was very, very controversial, it was the fact that I don't think enough was being done about the police's relationship with Savile. You know, if you actually looked into Savile's history, which we did, then you would see that Jimmy Savile nurtured relationships with senior police officers, and we know what he was getting out of them because what they were doing was suppressing investigations into him. The question that is pertinent is, what were they getting out of their relationship with Savile? And that's something that still has been under-investigated. I mean, it's pretty obvious what they were getting. So when we address those things, I think it works for the drama. It makes people realise that Line of Duty is set in the real world. But also, I hope it would make people take a step back and consider how important the police are as an institution and how important it is that we examine what they do.
Will you integrate some of the things that are going on at the moment in our crazy world into season 5 and season 6?
It's always possible. I mean, the thing is, it's really hard to be topical because of how long the lead time is. It's something that's happening now, which feels incredibly current. By the time the next series comes out, it's possibly forgotten, or events have surpassed it. So it's really more about maybe being inspired by those things and thinking, oh, that potentially asks a question that we could address in the series. But we then, you know, the Savile thing was unusual, that we were so specific about a real world correlate. But then that story was so big and it's going to be around for such a long time that it felt like it was the right thing to do.
Brilliant. Well, on that note, thank you both so much. I cannot wait for season 5. Thank you.
Jed Mercurio and Vicky McClure.